see how social work students being prepared to work with clients affected by domestic violence and its associated trauma. On a deeper level, because this is very social work specific, but for honors students here, how are educators perceiving that learning should occur? And also, how are they perceiving that students are prepared, and are they being prepared as they should be? This research is also being commissioned by the Family Justice Center in Tennessee, which is part of the bigger Family Justice Center Alliance that raises awareness and fights domestic violence in our communities. So that's what my research is about. Now, why is this even important? Domestic violence is a huge issue that we're just even trying to understand the broad scope of it. If you see that first statistics, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience violence from their partners in their lifetimes. Now, those might just seem like digits to you, but when you really think about it, that's about that whole section right there have experienced abuse in their lifetimes. What that statistic means is that it's non-discriminatory. It happens to all races, all genders, all socioeconomic statuses, all ages. It's everywhere, and it's an important issue. My research is focused in Tennessee, and the reason why is it's 6th in the US for the most domestic violence cases ever, which is huge. If you see the map, the states with the dark purple are the ones with the highest rates of 1 man killing 1 woman in the last decade. Now, we're the Southern Regional Honors Council, right? So we're all coming from universities around here, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, I'm guessing? Yeah? All right, so if you see right there, we have some of the darkest colors in the whole nation. So this is happening to us in our communities. And lastly, as I was doing my research, I was seeing that social work graduates are not graduating with the knowledge to work with clients affected by this. So I wanted to see, why is this the case? How are they being prepared? So this is a problem. So I set out to research it. I did it through a mixed methods approach. I did quantitative analysis through surveys. I sent it out through Google Forms, and I did it to all the full-time faculty in social work programs in Tennessee. I also did interviews with willing faculty members that looked more in their perceptions about how learning should occur. Here is my research sample, my beautiful table of statistics. Again, my research sample was faculty members in such accredited programs. And out of the people who participated, 82% were female, and the social work majors in the room will know that this is not a gender bias. A lot of people in social work are female, so this is accurately representative of the sample. 65% had their doctorate degree, 75% had been teaching for 10 years or more, and 21% specialize in domestic violence. So those were the people who participated in this study. Now, in Tennessee, there's 17 universities that offer accredited social work programs, both bachelor's and master's. Out of the people who participated, 14 of those 17 participated. So that's about 82%, which is pretty good, because I was able to see at least a snapshot into each university, what they're doing. And this is just a few. I don't know if anybody in the room is from any of those. Yeah. Anyway, so those are some of the few participating universities. Now, my research findings. I set out to find, how are social work students being prepared? How is learning occurring? This is what I found. Through the survey data, I ran it through SPSS and I analyzed it for relationships, what's going on. And I found that social work programs that address it in foundation courses, which is the beginning courses in a curriculum, are more likely to also address it at the advanced level. Now, this basically means if it's being addressed at the beginning, it's also being addressed at the end. But what this also is asking is, if it's not being addressed at the beginning, it's not being addressed at all. So it's just asking where the program's addressing it. The second relationship, the more speakers, which are experts in domestic violence, were brought into the classroom, the less students were taught practice interventions, which is specific ways to work with clients. So again, it's asking, yeah, they're bringing in experts, students are learning about things, which is great, but is that being a substitute for actual specific learning? Where are students getting that? And lastly, my survey had this one question that asked faculty members, please rate your agreement with this statement. Are your students academically prepared to work with clients affected by domestic violence? And actually 70% said about so-so or not at all. which is crazy. And their perceptions of their students' preparedness only correlated to one factor, addressing it at the undergraduate level. So in no other factors was it correlated to preparedness. They only perceive it to help in one area. So what about all those other areas? So this findings was consistent with the literature that students aren't graduating with the knowledge that they need to be. The second part of my research was the qualitative findings. Now, I asked the faculty members a series of 5 questions. They were about 20-minute interviews. And I asked them questions about their perceptions. One of these questions were, in your opinion, how do you gauge the effectiveness of social work education's response to domestic violence in Tennessee? And I was just trying to understand, where are they coming from? Where is their mindset? How are they teaching us? Now, 3 of the major themes that came out were here on the left. The first one is that they're teaching it through integration. They're not teaching it specifically. Time and time again, they were saying, yeah, we address it, but not specifically. We just kind of mention it in our beginning courses. One faculty said that it's poorly mentioned in most courses, even though they recognize that the majority of clients that social workers are going to see have experience with this. Although they want to offer all these phenomenal courses, they have to make choices, and they're doing what they can. And that's what I found a lot of times. You know, social workers, they have to work with people, not just domestic violence, healthcare, elderly, adolescents, everything across the span, and they're doing what they can. Secondly, important knowledge for students to know. I wanted to ask, if they can't address it specifically, what at least are they trying to impart to students before they graduate? And one of these things was victim blaming. I don't know if you've ever heard somebody say, you know, why doesn't she just leave, you know? If she's being abused, she could just pack her bag. She doesn't have to stay in that relationship. But there's a lot more to it. There's financial barriers, just if there's kids in the situation, if the perpetrator is giving them threats. These are things that faculty consider important for students to know, because in studies, a lot of social workers actually have those same victim blaming questions as the public. Other important knowledge that they consider is having a cultural understanding of this issue, seeing how prevalent it is. It's in every race, every gender. And also just knowing how to recognize the signs of somebody who's in an abusive relationship. The last relationship that I found was increased awareness for future change. This is probably a very hopeful theme that I found. One faculty said that this has brought to my forefront of what we can do differently that might help enhance our curriculum so that our students can be a little bit more prepared than where they are right now. So many of these faculty members stated that with this increased awareness that they're not teaching how they should be, they're going to go into the curriculum development and hopefully address it more effectively. So, in summary, students are being prepared in a generalist way. They're being taught one theory, which is, you know, show people empathy. But in the specifics, like domestic violence, there's no specific teaching going on. The students aren't being prepared enough. This is shown in the research, and the teachers feel the same way. They feel like their students are not being prepared. And there's a disconnect between the way that the faculty perceive how it should be taught and how it is actually taught. Now, I just think we're all students here, we're teachers, we all have some connection with education. How are we taking charge of our education? How are we learning? And how can we more effectively learn so that we can be prepared? Lastly, for further research, my research only looked at the faculty side. There needs to be more research on the student side. How do they feel that they're being prepared? Where do they feel like there's some missing links? Also, assessment strategies, looking at postgraduate work and seeing how they're working and how their education influenced that. And also just a meta-analysis of the syllabi, looking at the syllabi and seeing how often it mentions it, how it's being taught, and how students are being prepared to work with this population. I hope this presentation was insightful for you, and thank you for your time.